Terence Crawford knocks out Errol Spence in the 9th round. This fight was just out and out destruction by Terence Crawford. Going into this fight, I felt that Terence Crawford would win. I thought he'd win it on points, and my rationale for him winning it on points was when you get to the best at welterweight, when you get to the top 2 or top 3, whatever division, normally in kind of welterweight, middleweight, 154, those kind of weights, when you're talking about the best in their respective divisions, when they do fight, normally it's a distance type affair because both guys are very well skilled, normally have very, very good defense, and even if one guy is better, they're normally able to survive to the end. That's what I was thinking would happen. I thought that Crawford would win this fight. I thought that he would be the better of the two. I thought that he had more arsenals to work with. He had more tools to his game. Spence, as good as he is, I felt that Crawford was the more complete fighter. He had things that Spence doesn't have. Spence does things very well himself, but I just thought against Crawford it wouldn't be enough, and Crawford win on points. Boy, did I not see it going like this though. Like, I expected Spence to win rounds, plenty of rounds in this fight, but he really didn't. The first round was actually telling enough because Spence won that first round, but it was a very low affair. Not really either guy did anything. Spence was just that little bit busier, but instantly in that first round, the very first shot, if you go back and look at that, the very first shot in that first round was landed by Terence Crawford. He landed a jab and he fought in the southpaw stance the whole way through this fight. He landed a jab on Spence in that first round. You could see it sneak through. And you could see that Crawford had his jab on point. Even in the first round where he wasn't really trying to hurt Errol Spence in that first round. It was just more a kind of scouting mission. Have a look, get the lay of the land, see what I'm in there with, see what he's doing in this first round. Notice the movements that Spence is doing and notice the little defensive mistakes he was making. And that's what Crawford was doing. Spence had his right hand down a bit low. I think the range really messed with Spence in this fight because Errol Spence, so many times in this fight, I seen him thinking he was at a safe distance only for Crawford to counter him because he wasn't at a safe distance. And I think Crawford had the longer reach, probably had the longer arms as well. And I think that was messing Spence around a little bit as well because Spence, a few times in this fight, you could see he kind of, I don't want to say switched off, but in an exchange, he maybe took a step back and thought, okay, I'm safe, only to get hit with a jab. And I think for him, he was never really able to figure that out. And then obviously he was hurt several times in this fight. By then, it was just one-way traffic. But he won the first round. You go into the second round, and that's when Crawford started putting his foot on it. And I spoke in the pre-fight about Crawford's speed and his counter-punching, and he fuses the two together. He's very fast on the counter. He hits very hard, but his counter-punching, when you really see Crawford in full swing and his counter-punching is on point, one, he's a joy to watch, but two, he is very dangerous, and Spence found that out in the second round. He got dropped, and he was hurt, but it was near the end of the round, and I kind of felt that Crawford, even if it was, say, a minute left, probably wouldn't have really stepped on the gas that much because he didn't even do that in the the seventh round, where he had Spence down twice as well. I kind of felt that Crawford just kind of knew when to attack, when not to attack, when to save energy and when to let it all go. Spence, it's crazy, right? When you look at this fight, Spence, after about 4 rounds, his face was bleeding, it was swelling a little bit, he was breathing heavy, he looked like he'd been in a 12-round war. And this was only after about 4 rounds. Terence Crawford, by the end of this fight, he literally looked like a guy who went out for a jog around his local park and came home. A little bit warm outside, but I went for a jog and that's it. He didn't have a mark on him. It was absolutely crazy. And I was watching this fight thinking to myself, Spence is really having to work hard. If Spence wants to go through the gears, he can't because he's already probably in top gear trying to compete with Terence Crawford, trying to keep Crawford off him, trying to figure out what Crawford's going to do. He was working at the top of his game where you felt Crawford was in coast mode. He cruise control on. He was in second or third gear. He didn't even need to go through them because, well, this is enough. This is what I'm doing. And it was tremendous to watch. Excuse me. The counters from Crawford were amazingly good. They were amazingly fast. He hurt Spence several times in this fight. Spence just didn't look right in there. He really did. Not to make an excuse. He didn't look right in there. I don't know whether it was to do with the weight or whether it was just the fact that he was in there with someone who was just not just better than the guys he's fought in the past, significantly better. And Spence's resume is not bad. Let's not say that. It's definitely not bad. But those guys are very good welterweights who Spence has fought. But this is an elite welterweight in Terence Bud Crawford. I mean, this is someone very, very, very special. And it really told. You go into like the 5th round, the 6th round, it was more the same from Terence Crawford. He was countering Errol Spence very, very well. I don't know if the fact that he was fighting this fight all the way in southpaw maybe messed Spence up. Maybe Spence assumed that he would fight in the orthodox stance first. And Spence obviously has fought more orthodox. Obviously he's southpaw himself, so he's used to that. The southpaw fighting the southpaw is not normally something you'd be used to. Crawford, I'm sure, had this well scouted and had it well prepared. I mean, he would have been the one probably facing all southpaws in training camp, whereas Spence, because you don't know what you're going to get, I'd say he sparred a lot of orthodox and then a lot of southpaws, so he wasn't probably really sure what he was going to get. Into the 7th round, Spence gets dropped again. Lovely little counter. It was an uppercut come hook. Spence went down. He looked hurt. Now, he did look hurt, but he was able to fight back. He was able to fire back. And, you got the impression, okay, he survived the round. He gets caught with a right hook again at the end of the round. He goes down heavy. Had there been 20 seconds in the fight, probably Spence would have got stopped in that 7th round. I reckon Crawford would have finished him, but it was right on the bell, so Spence was always going to survive that round. The doctor was having a look at Spence from about the 4th round on, which is never a good sign. That indicates that everyone knows you're taking punishment in there. And it's a real case of you're fighting against the clock now, because a doctor, your corner, they're going to stop that fight if you keep taking this. Into the 8th round, he was stunned again a little bit in that 8th round, but overall was able to survive. He was not close in these rounds. I mean, definitely you give Errol Spence the 1st round. The 3rd round, TNT gave him it, but I'm not too sure. I think you could have given that round to Crawford. So realistically, you could say Spence won 1 round in this whole fight. Realistically, it was that type of fight. It was very, very one-sided. Boy, was I not expecting this. So 8th round was what it was. Into the 9th round, Crawford finds the shots again. It's hurting Errol Spence again this time. And Spence was on the verge of going down before Harvey Dock stepped in and stopped it. Harvey Dock is not a quick stoppage type of guy, and he's known for giving fighters a lot of chances. I've no problem with this stoppage at all. I don't think anyone did. Spence would have been dropped again, and at the end of the day, he probably would have kept getting up, because I don't think Crawford had the power to lay him flat out. But he would have dropped him several times, and Spence, to his credit, would have kept getting up, and better to just stop it, because he'd already taken a big beating in this fight, and this was a beating. Spence took a real beating in there, and for me, no problem with the stoppage. Right time to do it. Boy, I mean, wow. A lot of people were picking were picking Crawford by late stoppage, and I could conceivably have seen it, but I just thought it's a distance fight. Crawford late stoppage, yeah, if you'd said, I could say I could possibly see it, but I thought it was distance. But Crawford late stoppage in a fight that he dominates, I didn't see that. And I don't think the majority of people seen it either. I mean, it really was a tremendous performance by Terence Bud Crawford. He is now undisputed in 2 weight divisions, 140 and 147. Tremendous achievement, tremendous fighter. The talent on display from Crawford is incredible. You look at welterweight and you think no one's beating him. It's going to be very difficult to beat him. As much as I rate Boots Ennis, his athleticism is tremendous. It really is, but it can only take you so far. I mean, Crawford is tremendously talented. This is an all-time great we're looking at. It really is, and we're very lucky in this era that we have. So people like to take a you-know-what on it. We've got Inoue, who is a tremendous fighter in the lower weights. We have Alexander Usyk, I mean, all-time great cruiserweight, arguably the greatest of all time, fulfilling all the heavyweight obligations that he's doing. Tremendous talent, should be undisputed, or should be at least fighting for undisputed, but we haven't got that yet. And then we've Terence Crawford, who is just a generational talent there. He really is. So in this generation, in this era of boxing, we're very lucky. We have great talent. We've got great fights. And 2023 has been a tremendous year so far for fights. We've had great fights so far, and hopefully we get more. I hope there's no talk of rematches for this fight, because it was... I don't mind seeing a rematch if it's a good fight, if it's competitive and one guy wins, but if it's like this, where it's one-sided, I've no interest in a rematch. I hope we don't get it. I hope Crawford can fight Boots Ennis, and we can see that fight. He is mandatory for the IBF, so let's see it. Let's go. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll talk about this fight later on today, lads. For now, I'm going to leave it with that. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. For now, lads and lassies, I'll leave it there. I'll talk to you. Peace.